And welcome back to another episode of Indieventure, the video games podcast all about the wonderful world of indie games. I'm Rachel Watts and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Rebecca Jones.
Hello.
And Liam Richardson.
Heidi. Oh, I don't know where
sorry.
that came from.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am too.
Heidi.
You know what? I admire that because every time I think I'm going to do something fun with it today and then I bottle it and I'm like, hi. So, yeah, well done.
Well, now you've seen the consequences of trying and you'll never try again.
I think once really early on I said something and then I just instantly regretted it. What was it? Like a...
Blimey O'Reilly.
Yes.
It's seared into my brain, that. Blimey O'Reilly, it's episode 7. I don't know why. It's just, there's something about that, just like, it permanently changed me.
Yes, hello listeners. Welcome back. This episode, we're going to be chatting about video game houses, the house as a setting, what it represents, how it's used in different video game genres like horror and puzzle games and lots of others. And this topic was inspired by our current obsession, for some of us, of blueprints, which is when this episode comes out, it should be out. But currently reviews have released today and it's out in a couple of days. So that's all very exciting. But yeah, so we thought about like the Wonder Stop episode and talking about cozy games and then like choosing one game and then chatting about a topic. And so we're doing that again, but this time with blueprints and the house as a setting. So we're going to have a little chat about video game houses, our favorites and all that good stuff. And then we'll get onto blueprints, which should be interesting and fun. Because obviously last time it was Rebecca's hyperfixation. I've talked about the demo and we've all played it, essentially. We've all played it and we all have opinions. Which, see if you can guess who the outlier is this episode. And then when we get to the blueprints, then it all will be revealed. But yeah, that's a fun game for you to play.
Yeah.
But yes, before that in-depth chat, let's chat about video game houses. And let's kick off with our favorite, just a nice question, our favorite houses in video games and what we love about them, what they mean to us. And who wants to start? Who wants to begin? Who heard this question and immediately had a house come to mind? Because it's quite a weird question. But there are a lot of houses in video games.
For sure. Quick rules question before I go. Are we allowed, is it allowed to be a AAA game? Does it have to be an indie?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I go in with my favourite houses in any games? Because it's got to be the various iterations of Goth Manor from the Sims series.
Oh my God.
Like 100%.
Where's my gavel? Approved.
Yeah,
Approved.
I grew up in those houses. I could still, if you, like in my mind, if I close my eyes, I can walk through any Goth Manor from the Sims series in my head right now. In like first person, I know everything is in the kitchen. It's, you know, obviously as a sort of nascent goth kid when the first game came out, I was just poised to be like, wow, these houses are incredible. And still love them. Very, very dearly.
That's like the Bella Goth household, right?
Yes, yeah, Bella and Mortimer, Cassandra and Alexander. I mean, don't make me list all because I could go like family trees 3 generations back on any like core Sims lore families. So don't.
And the whole mystery. It's a mystery house.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a lot of like. I mean, just generally for this question, I could have said like houses in The Sims generally, just because of how integral like the domestic space and your ability to customize it is to that whole series. Even though I'm more of a gameplay and character creator simmer than a building simmer, I still find the playing with the interiors of the house. I don't really like building them, but I do like playing with the interiors a lot. So
sure,
like, obviously easy answer for me, but I can definitely narrow it down to the goth houses in the different games.
Yes, that's a good one. And you, Liam?
I suspect I might know Liam's. I feel like I should know it. Like, I don't know.
Well, I haven't. I actually wasn't going to say a AAA one, but you can probably guess the AAA one, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably Spencer Mansion from Resident Evil, which is like the quintessential video game house for reasons I guess will probably come up when we discuss this a little bit more in depth. But in the indie space, the the first thing I thought of when you asked us this question was the final house from Unpacking.
Oh,
Which-
yes.
Again, I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about why that was emotionally impactful later on.
Yes. This is just all houses. Well, flats, apartments, homes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah, that was the first one that came to mind.
Why did you like it? Why does it come to mind for you?
Well, I mean, I guess we will dig into this a little bit later, but I think when I was thinking today about what appeals to me about houses in video games and why I love them as a space to explore is because as human beings, we cannot embed ourselves in our dwellings without leaving behind part of ourselves. I just think houses speak so fully about the people who inhabit them. And I feel like Unpacking is maybe one of the best examples of that, because the person doesn't even have to be present to know everything you need to know about this person. Like, without any kind of dialogue, we are able to understand the person that lives in these houses, the people that they cohabit with, and through objects and the things that they surround themselves with within this place they call home, we discover who this person is. And obviously the emotional peak of that game occurs, I would say, in the final house. And you feel like you've been on this journey with this person through their things, through their space, through arranging their objects in your own way, but they are very much their objects, and they tell a story. So yeah, that's why Unpacking came to mind straight away, I think, in terms of like, why do I like houses in video games? And yeah, for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I think mine, I mean, immediately Gone Home comes to mind. I think that was one of the...
Yeah, 100%.
I think for me, when I was like first kind of getting into indie games in particular, playing Gone Home and just like the house and exploring that was just so interesting in terms of like, I mean, up to that point, I played open world games or games with like levels and stuff, but nothing that was so enclosed and intimate like it was in Gone Home. And also, this will take us into maybe talking about horror games in particular. But with that house, it kind of occupies two spaces where it is kind of like, oh, I like, just because I'm in a house and it's a bit eerie, I'm expecting a certain like atmosphere, like horror atmosphere, but then slowly realizing that actually this house is more of a setting for this family drama than it is a setting for something to peek around the corner and scare me shitless. So I think for me, it was like the assumption of stepping through the doors of being like, oh, this is something quite scary, to then changing into something else was something that I always distinctly remember. And I, you know, going into the bedrooms is like the biggest one of like them being cozy spaces. But I think for me, it was like the father's office where you see all his unsold copies of his book. And I'm like, okay, this is not, I don't feel like this is a horror game. This is family drama. So I think I'm going to be okay. Because oh my God, I remember, because in the living room, the TV is on, or it's like fuzzy.
It's switched to static when you get there, and that's...
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. But going into the office, I was like, no, it's fine. It's just, you know, it's all vibes, so I'm good. But that, for me, that house is like the house, the indie house for me would be Gone Home.
100%.
Sure.
I think Gone Home or What Remains of Edith Finch would be the two main candidates for me as the indie game house, like, for sure. Yeah. And they both have just like, especially I think Gone Home, I've been thinking about the concept of like how plausible houses in games are often, because like, you know, Gone Home is broadly plausible as a layout, but it kind of like the way it plays with like routes and, you know, secret passages and stuff is still pretty like fantastical. Obviously, What Remains of Edith Finch is like very fantastical. The point is that it's been built in a way that doesn't make logical sense. And then, you know, obviously Unpacking at the other end of the scale there, where it all makes sense as a domestic space first and foremost. And yeah, I mean, we don't have to dig into it right now because I have notes on this for, especially in like horror games, the way that plausible versus implausible houses are kind of used and what that signifies. But I do find that really, really interesting, because Gone Home is like right on the edge of like, no way does a family of four live in this, live in this house.
Yes. Well, let's get into horror games. Let's have that as our first talking point. And Rebecca, if you want to kick us off, I will absolutely give the floor to you.
Sure, I would love to. I mean, Gone Home is an interesting way into this, right? Because it very much, especially I think at launch, I didn't play it for a few years until it'd been out for a while, but at launch, it tried to sell itself as a horror game, right? The sort of bait and switch of Gone Home is that it's not a horror game. Obviously, everyone knows that now. But at the time, I feel like it was almost doing like the inverse of what Doki Doki Literature Club wanted to do, and just being like, yeah, buy this cool horror game, and then like a couple of jump scares later, it's like, surprise, it's a family drama. Like that's I like it.
It's a queer love story.
Right?
Gotcha, gamers.
Oh yeah, it 100% did. Like I respect what they did with that. But yeah, in terms of, like, there are a couple of jump scares in Gone Home, right? And the fact that you're moving around the house in a way that feels weird, like you're going into these secret passages. You like sometimes you open a cabinet, and that will turn out to be the route to the next room rather than a more standard like hallway or stairway or whatever. It's like kind of an uncanny way of moving around that space, even though it is kind of just a normal family home. Although they're meant to be quite rich, aren't they? I think that the implication is that they're actually pretty wealthy in Gone Home.
Yeah, I think it's like, if this book doesn't sell, they're probably in financial trouble, because it's like that drama of like, well, if I can't support, like from the father's perspective, I can't support my family, then what my role in this kind of, I think it's supposed to be kind of like that, like they could lose everything.
Yeah, not to get like too into it, but there's the whole thing with the uncle, and he left them the money for the house. It's like a whole thing. Gone Home lore is so deep. Do you know that Gone Home and Firewatch are in universe with BioShock? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Yes.
It's my favorite thing. Anyway, yeah, in terms of like houses in horror games, I feel like PT obviously codified this new wave of horror starting in 2014, which was that very domestic but also very surreal and like nightmarish use of a domestic space. And because PT is illegal in this chat, it's not, but you know, I think we don't need to talk about PT, because Layers of Fear did the same thing, actually completed the story it was telling, and was indie. So I think that that's, you know, a better way into the discussion of the way that houses are used in horror games. And like, obviously Layers of Fear, if you've played any of the, particularly the first game.
The first game, I love the first
game. I've played the second one. I still need to finish the third one. But the first game is the one that's doing just like a family home mostly. Yeah. But it does kind of, you know, obviously it's all about like looping and repeating and nonsensical, but it is meant to be taking place on that level of like nightmare, which is the thing that got really popular in this genre. But I do still love the fact that at the start of the game, until you hit a certain point, you can just explore the house as a real house, and it does feel like a very plausible, like early 20th century middle class American home. I think that's an overlooked thing that this game does really well. But then it goes into the nightmare, like endless hallways of the PT style, and you know, ends with stuff floating up to the ceiling, and just everything's so strange, and that baby running in and bumping its head on the cabinet again and again and again.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
oh, I love that so much.
It's yeah. I mean, I think it kind of worked in context. And then obviously that spawned a whole genre of things like Visage, and Visage is an interesting one, because I do think that it's kind of, I almost thought that went too far in the Gone Home vein of like, you're meant to be naturally moving around this house, but I was just like, this home is too labyrinthine to kind of like, it's almost just go dreamlike with it, go too weird in a way. So I'm going to be controversial and say Visage actually not one of my favourites for doing this, even though it was, you know, probably the most acclaimed one after Layers of Fear. In terms of like smaller indie horrors that I feel like have come out of that tradition, I guess, if that's not too, I guess it's not too big a word for it. I wanted to shout out, possibly because I'm just thinking about it all the time, last year's Sucker for Love game, the one that I talked about a bit when it came out. It's almost a year old.
Oh yeah.
That intrigues me because it kind of brings all those concepts together, right? It takes place the character goes into her childhood home and she recognizes the space as the home she grew up in, but it's weird because the world of Sucker for Love is already a bit weird. And so I think that kind of, but at the same time, it does something that I really love and I wish more horror games set in houses did. And it never extends the space in a, you know, it doesn't have like endless hallways and all this weird stuff. You are always in the same space. The pattern is set out, and how you move through that is determined by the different obstacles that you encounter in that game. And I love that. That is, this is probably all coming from the Sims thing, right? Growing up on the Sims got me so obsessed with houses and the way that they work and look and fit together and the different possibilities for them. And yeah, I loved that in Sucker for Love 2, you were just moving through that space in the way that this character knows where she's going. It's not gone strange, it's not gone weird. For her, it's home, and every room is home and recognizable, but the things that are in it are what's generating the horror, not the idea of it kind of going out of control. And I love that.
Yes.
That's a classic horror trope, and like movies too, right? It's this idea of some of the scariest locations where you can set a movie are domestic suburban settings because they're so familiar, and society has ingrained in us this idea that they are the safest places to be. So any kind of domestic setting, especially a house, a cozy house, that then becomes the catalyst for some kind of horrific, or the location, for some kind of horrific event. It's just such a rich and fertile ground for that. And I feel like indie horror especially is starting to do that. I mean, even like mouthwashing in some ways, from what I know about it, that is still a space where people are living.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And there's something about the place where you sleep and the place where your things are, of that being invaded by some kind of force beyond, some kind of horrific event is just awful. And that's what I love about like Resident Evil. If you go back to the Spencer Mansion quickly, is here is like a big house that is just it is evil. It doesn't matter that the zombies are walking around. There's something very like it's in the walls almost, like something bad was happening here way before they started to bring the undead back. And I just really love that about like peeling the layers back. And it goes back to this idea of like no matter who lives in a house, part of them is there, even if there's something hiding behind a door that is locked or at the back of a cupboard. Like, the finding and uncovering those things within these spaces that should be safe is just awful.
It's such a good point. I think this is one thing that always fascinates me about, especially like apocalyptic fiction and zombie fiction, is the idea that all of these spaces that had this normal life attached to them suddenly being repurposed and finding these different uses, and like the idea of a family coming along and finding what was a family home of a different family who's just not there anymore, and there's no real evidence of what happened to them as well, is really interesting. Like there's just something like quite it may sound a little odd, but almost like primal about the thought of like, what would you do if you found yourself suddenly in this world gone like completely out of your experience, and the spaces, the familiar spaces of like home or school or wherever that would be, and like how would you repurpose that space is I think one of the things that a lot of these games are asking that question, right? I mean, it's a really good shout to call like mouthwashing, because again, it's like they're living on this ship, but part of the ship has been destroyed. So, you move the domestic spaces into the other, you repurpose spaces, and it is so
interesting.
So I'm really fascinated by that as an idea. I mean, I watched 11 seasons of The Walking Dead, and part of that was because I loved the way they build settlements in that show. I love the way that they just the idea of like organizational. Okay, Rachel, I just bought Frostpunk. You'll be so proud. I'm going to definitely become a total Frostpunk sicker after this as well.
Yeah, I agree with both of you as well. And there's also something with the house as well. It's like it's supposed to keep stuff out. So when stuff comes in, you're just like, what the fuck? Yeah. And also it's like, if I can't stay here, where do I go? Like, I have to stay here. There's no option. Like, I always think like, in horror, like, in those like comedy sketches where it's like, if I heard a bump in the night, I'm leaving straight away. But it's like, but where would you go? Like, you
run out into the street, and that's like as scary. I think about that probably too much because I watch too much horror.
But it's just this idea of like, I genuinely am like, okay, my parents live by, that's great. But ultimately, like, my life is here. Like, that is what is in danger. It's not just me as a body, but like it's like my life is this. This is my life. Like if there's a ghost in the walls, I'm gonna be like, fuck you, get out. This is mine now. But like what you both were saying, because houses like the setting like soaks up all these like previous inhabitants and their memories and their histories and stuff. It's almost like, well, I'm here now. Like you can leave. So there's almost something very like standoffish about a house. Even like going into someone else's house, like the way that and people are so connected. Like the way that someone, I don't know if this makes sense, the way that someone behaves in their own home, it's like if they are hostile or that the setting feels hostile. If I'm outside and someone like shouts at me in a park, I'm just like, I'm going. But in a house, it's enclosed. Like if someone is like behaving a certain way, the whole building like changes. The energy.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The energy changes. And I think it's the same in video games. Like it's totally the same in Gone Home as well. Like it just has their settings that have the ability to almost like change the atmosphere in really subtle ways just through and I think that is so cool.
That's such a good point.
It's such a good way of putting it, Rachel.
Gone Home as well, I think it's interesting to kind of loop back to that and say, I think a lot of this does tap into very like realistic, grounded fears, even though Gone Home, not a horror game in the end. But everyone's had an experience, I'm sure, where they've come home expecting there to be someone there and the house is empty. And, you know, we've all at some point been on that like journey, haven't we, where it's like someone should be here, so I've got to look in every room because like, oh my god, you know, the person I live with could be lying dead in one of these rooms, and it really starts to spiral out of control. And that's like essentially that's what Gone Home is about, though, isn't it? There's a persistent threat in Gone Home that the sister might be dead in there somewhere. Is like, really, there is an underlying horror.
There's always a point in like horror films, right, when they go, hello, and then no one answers. And
exactly.
It's like, it still hits how scary that is.
Yeah, and even if it's like you are alone and it's just that, why is everyone left? I thought everyone was going to be. It does have that. There is almost an inherent uncanniness to all portrayals of the home that aren't being like ordinarily inhabited, really. So of the games we've talked about, really only Sims and Unpacking don't do that to some degree, because for understandable reasons, most games are telling stories about an unusual occurrence. And also because we're talking about indie games, the limitation is often that you can't show a bunch of characters going about their day in a fully realised and scripted and, you know, interactable sort of sense. So...
Yeah,
wow.
For me, my personal horror house is the one from Devotion, a game which I played because the story was so good. I fucking hate horror, but I was like, I need to play this game because the story is good. And so I would play it for like 10 minutes stop. I think I played, Devotion's not a long game, but I played it in 10-minute chunks. And then if I got too scared, I would look up on YouTube like what would happen next, and then I would play it in game. Like that sounds wild. That sounds wild, but I wanted to experience it. Yeah, but it was just too much.
That's not that. Like, to be honest, I do that in action games because I find boss fights really stressful. So I'll watch the boss fight on YouTube and then go and play it, because if I know what's coming, then I can do it. But if I don't know what's coming, so it's like the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
It's like I'm in the House of Devotion. Devotion is just a horror game where you play as a father who has a family, but it's essentially him just exploring the house through like different years, and the house changes and creepy shit happens. It's really fucking good. And I'm like, right, I've seen the YouTube video, and Nasty Ghoulies gonna pop her gross, disgusting, ratchet face around that corner, and I'm gonna be expecting it. And then I'm just like, in Devotion, actually, I'll get onto that in a minute, but I would be like, right, it's coming. And it would always get me to the point where in horror games now, I will run everywhere because if I walk anywhere, the tension builds. So I remember in Devotion, after that jump scare, I was like, right, if I just run everywhere, nothing can scare me because I'm just running around. But then I stopped doing that because the idea was to like soak up the environment. But anyway, I was like running through this house. Like,
that is great,
where
though.
are you, ghosts? You can't get this jump on me if I'm already running.
As a tactic to overcome your own fear, it's excellent. It's also a really good way to like essentially break horror games by doing something that they're not expecting, because a lot of the time if you run at the thing, it will disappear because it's not prepared. It's not prepared for you to get brave.
First person horror, look at the floor.
Oh, that's a good one.
Look at the floor and walk forward. They haven't programmed for that. That ghosting crouching down and being like, hi, what are you doing?
Just like, excuse me? Excuse me? You're just like, no.
I'd like to see a horror film where someone just walks in like this. And like, was like, what are you doing? Nothing.
Nothing.
Do your thing. It's fine. Just do it. I'll hear it, and I'll still jump, but I don't want to see it. I'll just look at what you do.
I just can't have it in my face.
Unironically, I want that in a horror film.
I've had a tough day.
So good.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest horror scares I've ever had in video games have been in some sort of fucking house. In some sort of creepy house. Like, it's just something about it. It's enclosed. There's nowhere to run. There's a corridor, but like, it's, creepy as fuck.
I think there's like this idea as well that if you're in a stranger's home and you're being pursued, like they know the house better than you do as well. Like we all know how intimately we know the spaces we live in. So if you're trapped in there and something's after you, they have this intimate knowledge that you don't have.
That's such a good point.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Before we move on, because horror and houses is such a big thing. Is there anything else you want to say before we maybe move to a different genre? Because I'm fucking scared.
Fair enough. I think this might make for a good sort of transition away from the pure horror, actually, which is that I wanted to talk about the Rusty Lake games, which I think are a good... Because obviously the whole point of those is that they're cube escape games, so you're very often, not always, because it's a massive series at this point, but very often in a domestic room. And, it's all very simple. You're in like a sort of 4 walls, a ceiling and a floor. There's often the trappings of a pretty recognizable domestic space. And then it's like, okay, the door's locked. How do you get out? It's like such a simple start, but it essentially is a whole genre now, as well as just Rusty Lake doing it.
Yeah.
I love to shower Rusty Lake, so I will. And I think that's an interesting one because it kind of almost brings it back to the Gone Home thing of like, it's uncanny, but it's not really, very little in Rusty Lake would be horror in terms of like survival horror. There's, I think in the entire franchise, there's been one time section where something will happen to you if you don't, if you don't achieve something within a couple of minutes, and everything else is more just building on that atmosphere that obviously you can still fail state, but it's much more about like what you choose to do and again how you choose to interact with the space, and that can often be in a way that on the first pass looks quite normal.
But that's the thing with like houses and puzzle games in particular, like because you're limited in environment, there's only so many options to find clues, and this counts for mystery games as well. And so you're not overwhelmed with this massive space. You know that, right, within these 4 rooms, I'm solving these puzzles. Like the scope of the puzzle only spans this small space. Like I'm not going to be, except for blueprints, we'll get to that later. But it's like I understand 100%. The scope of the puzzles and how to manage that. And Rusty Lake is a really good example of that because that game can get quite surreal. And so as long as you're in like a smaller space, you can kind of understand best how to solve puzzles and understand the scope of a puzzle instead of it being like an open world where you're just like, what the fuck?
It kind of has that sense as well of like it imposes a rule that most people will understand quite instinctively as, the domestic setting and the relatively, as you say, the relatively constrained space of a house. And the reason that I thought this was an interesting one to seg into something else as well is because in Rusty Lake, quite often, although you are trapped inside a room and that is always pretty much always the setup, quite a lot of the characters are to some degree in a kind of like self-imposed exile in that situation. And it becomes then a reflection of their kind of mental situations. Like, why would you choose to lock yourself in your apartment in this way? And like, how do you get out? And that, I think, is a nice way of talking about as well. Another game I wanted to mention was Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which I know that you mentioned as well, Rachel, when we were chatting about this earlier. Which again, a lot of that game, I think it's been a year since I played it, but I think the majority of the present day action in that game does take place in a very small house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which you see in a really cute kind of like Polly Pocket Simsy sort of.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the way to describe how it's sort of like isometric, I suppose, but also it's...
Yeah, like isometric diorama. Like
exactly.
The walls are like invisible that you're viewing through or whatever.
Yeah. And it has, obviously, because the reason
terranium.
That the main character is there is because she's under house arrest. So,
I mean, because I guess with the pandemic, suddenly your house is a prison, and that's exactly what happens in Cosmic Wheel. So that made perfect sense. A bit too close to home. Oh, hello, pun. But yeah, I totally. But yeah, that's so true. Cause like the house in Cosmic Wheel is so cozy, but the fact that she cannot leave like it's different. It makes it like it just changes the nature of what the house is. And yeah, like I said, it literally is a prison for her to live the rest of eternity in. And that's scary.
Absolutely.
It's very cozy.
It's like somewhere you'd want to be, except that you know that she can't leave, and so it immediately feels oppressive when you see that also she's on like an asteroid, right? It's a space rock.
Yes.
So the most she can do is kind of go and sit in the windowsill, which she does a lot in that game. And I think that, you know, speaks to, I mean, it really encapsulates the desire for freedom that she has throughout that game really simply and very cleanly.
That's the thing.
Beautifully.
The windowsill is the furthest she can get away from the house. It's the only part of the house she can get outside of. So she sits on it because, and that's so heartbreaking. You're just like, oh my God. So yeah, that's a really good example. But yeah, I was thinking when we talk about Rusty Lake and puzzle games as well, and I think in terms of like just escape rooms and how, you know, just the nature of being inside a place where there's lots of things to interact with and lots of objects, like it just makes sense for puzzle games to kind of
100%.
Also incorporate the space of the house.
Yeah, I'm giggling because literally as we've just now, my friend has started playing The Room 4 on Steam and it's popped up and I'm like, thank you, Sam, for the illustration of the point.
Exactly. It's this like, I just feel like Blueprints being one of them, Lorelei being another one, Tangle Tower being one. It's just, you're in this space, there's a mystery to solve, you understand the scope, and you almost, like, the puzzle is always just like set out for you. There's not a lot of like exploration to do. It's just kind of like in the room, in the four walls of the house. So I just really like that puzzle games have kind of taken that setting and used it in a way in which doesn't feel overwhelming. Something like The Witness, which is on an island, can feel like, oh my God, there's so much to do. Even like, I think Myst, which is on an island, feels very overwhelming. The fact that the house just feels a little bit more, one, cozy, and two, smaller. And in arm's reach, I always feel like I can just pop into different rooms and just like quickly access something if I need to when it comes to puzzle games. So yeah, I love that. Maybe not in Lorelei Laser Eyes, because that it's a hotel and it's a big hotel with lots of locked doors. But it's kind of the same idea. It's like there's a locked door. Okay, this will be opened eventually. And so the house starts small, but as you get used to the game's systems and puzzles, it grows bigger because suddenly you have the capacity to like unlock these doors. And so it's almost like a tutorial level that then gets bigger the more your understanding of the game gets bigger. The house can kind of like echo your puzzle solving skills. And I really like that. I think that's so cool.
Nice. Love that.
I like that as an idea. If it's still a contained space, but it is expanding along with your ability to cope with that expansion.
Like a Metroidvania in that way. But a house is just a really simple way of doing it. Oh, this door's locked, better come back later. Instead of this.
Metroidvania, you might say.
Hello. No, I love the term Metroidvania. I think it's so
great,
fucking cool. We use it all the time.
One of the
over
more
at
contentious
Thinky.
genre names for some reason. I like it as well, but some people hate it.
Well, it's the puzzle community. I should really get Joe on Extra, the episodes of Extra
Definitely.
we do, because like, the puzzle community is very particular about its genre signifiers. Like, what is a soccer band game, and what is they're very. So I'm not surprised. There's a lot of discussion around Metroidvanias in that regard. Like the Thinky Discord always pops off in like a really interesting way. In terms, whenever someone describes, oh my God, deduction. We had a massive thing. Joe and me had a massive conversation about a deduction game and a detective game and how they are different. And girl. I got it handed to me. I was just like, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm out of my league here. But yeah, I love the term Metroidvania. It's just a good pun. Just a good pun.
Right?
It is a good pun. Can I talk a little bit about the idea of homes as an ability to own a part of the game you're in?
Ooh, yes.
Because I think
that's
quite a big part of what I love about houses in games. So I'm thinking your house in Stardew Valley, it becomes this space that you can spend in-game money to expand and to decorate and do all these things that have no impact on the game whatsoever. You can keep living in that tiny shack for 160 hours if you want to, and that's okay. But I love this idea of feeling like ownership. It's like, well, that's my part. And in this world that's all been predefined for me, there's a pocket of it that I can make my own, and it's where I can go to bed at night and be like, this is my little space. And I was thinking about this when I played Go-Go Town just before Christmas, a game I really ended up liking. So I played it for about 10 hours, and then they patched it with a new update that included player housing. They were like, okay, we've now let you build your own house and decorate it. And the way that game shifted, the second I went from someone who was just running around doing things for other people to suddenly having a place that was mine. And I could be like, okay, well, this is where I want it to be. This is the part of the island I love the most. I wanted to have this nice like river view, and I was decorating around it and decorating inside. And again, it had no impact on the game whatsoever. But I really love this idea of, I just want somewhere in a game that's my own, and I can make small changes to it, and I can go back there, and even if it has no impact whatsoever, it's mine. And when I walk away from that game, I'm like, yeah, I had a little plot of land there. I had somewhere that was my own. And I really, really love that about houses in games that are player owned and customized.
Yeah, because it's almost like a sense of belonging. You're not a visitor anymore.
Yes.
You have a house there. It's like,
Very
I'm
nice
one
way
of
of
you
putting it.
now. Like in Stardew, when you get there and everyone's like, calls you the farmer and like, oh, you live in that house over there. You're like, I do. That is where I live. I'm like part of this community now. And it is really nice when that happens. Like I remember in Pokemon, oh, this is the throwback. Maybe it was in Ruby or Sapphire and you got your own little den. And I was just like, this is the best fucking shit ever. And I remember spending even like in Animal Crossing, the most important decision in Animal Crossing is where to initially place your home. Like the
100%.
amount of time I was like, well, do I want it by this little cute river, or there's lots of trees by here, or maybe I don't want it too close to the shop. I kind of want to be on my own, but kind of close to other villages, but also I just want my own little area. Like it's so important, and it feels great because you're like, I chose it. I chose to live here. This is my little house, my little home. And then, it definitely is like, you feel like, that sense of being like, okay, this game is, I'm not just visiting this world. Like, here's my little slice of it.
I'm embedded. Yeah, I really like the idea of no longer being a visitor. That's such a nice way of putting it.
Like, I'm one of you now. And they're like, oh no, the farmer's back. And she's got like 200 parsnips. It's like parsnips for everyone. Actually, with me, it was grape wine. Everyone loves grape wine in Stardew. So I was just like, I had loads of grape wine. I was just giving it out to everyone. That was my thing.
I ended up being like the mayonnaise king last time I played it. I don't know why. I just became like
king.
Yeah, kind of regret saying that. But I was just like,
between that and Romance and Haley, you have really created. You paint the picture of that playthrough.
How much mayo? You probably get Haley jars of mayo. Does Haley even like mayo? Let's have a look.
Haley didn't like anything once I married her. She just stood in my dark house with our child, just the whole thing reeking of mayonnaise as it wafted through the slats. Side note: does your granddad? Does he die in the house? Like when you go in that house, is he like, did he die in there? I guess he did, right?
I think
guess
he must
so.
have.
That's a good point.
Yeah, in
Love
the bed
that.
you sleep in.
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, I don't know. Yes.
I never thought about that.
Bit weird.
Concerned ape, to the ape it may concern, please let us know. Did the granddad die in the bed that you start off in Stardew Valley?
Because his ghost is outside in the gravestone, right? In the shrine. Is that where his ghost
Yeah,
is?
I guess that's where his soul goes before it goes to hell.
Yeah, that was nice of him to move out.
But like in the intro cutscene,
He is in the house.
Yeah.
Is he in someone else's house?
I mean, that's not a hospital. I think that's one thing we can all
Yeah.
It's not a
agree.
hospital.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Well,
In my head, I have to really think that, like, no, he didn't die in the Family Guy pose. He dies in the bed.
I know.
That's just a mod. But in my head, that's canonical. Is he
Such
died
a
in that
good
twisted way on the floor?
I never thought about that before. Yeah, he definitely dies in that house.
No, he does, doesn't he?
That changes things. Oh,
Yeah.
well, so...
Moving on.
What point were we,
What were we talking about?
Personal player house? Sorry, I really threw us off.
Yeah, no, it was about customizing houses. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. That is such a good example of that. I can't... Because, farming sims, it always happens. You're always just given a house in a farming sim. And, like, you can craft stuff and make it your own. I'm trying to think if there's any other games where you're given like a home or a house that aren't necessarily farming sims.
It's definitely, I don't know about, I can't think of an indie example, but RPGs do it a lot, right? You'll start out with a very basic, like a camp or some sort of like if it's a more modern set one, like an apartment, like I'm thinking like Vampire and Cyberpunk and stuff like that. And then you get like more housing options, and you'll have customization, at least in as much as you can add trophies and souvenirs of the quests you've completed. That's like, I just find it really interesting because like now I'm thinking about it, I wonder how many games don't give some sense of the domestic like life of the protagonist almost. Because another one that I could have said at the start, which I didn't mention, was like Croft Manor from the Tomb Raider series, which is another like totally iconic, very codified,
very iconic
video game housing, to the point where it's now in Power Wash Sim, so it is indie. So come all the way back round, and now it's cameoed in an indie game. Sorry.
What a reach. I love that.
Look, it's tenuous, but it is there. So,
nope.
But yeah,
I agree. Where's the gavel? Approved.
Well,
you know what? We didn't get.
Deemed it. Tomb Raider is an indie game.
We didn't get those gavels, did we? I mean, if no one does anything with the IP soon, it will be.
That's a really good point. Do you think if Tomb Raider came out for the first time today, people be like, fuck rich Tory Lara with a massive big country house?
I think almost everyone would take exception to Lara Croft one way or another if Tomb Raider came out today for the first time.
You'd hope so.
She has a butler.
Oh,
How
Tory is Lara Croft?
How Tory is Lara Croft?
She steals artifacts.
Yeah, I mean,
countries.
Actually,
most of the I don't think she bothers to vote because she's so far above the people who need to ever worry about what the government's doing. Honestly, if we want.
She doesn't pay tax, though.
Oh,
we
God,
can
no.
all agree.
Yeah.
She doesn't pay tax.
No.
100%. She's never paid tax in her life.
Yeah.
But I like to think...
So off topic.
I like to think that she gets off a tax rate because she's too cunty.
there is a clause in the
like,
in the
Lara
laws
Croft.
of this land.
In Lara Croft, you're just too iconic. You're too much of a babe. You're an absolute legend. So... You're
too Britpop. You're too cunty. You don't pay. Is she Britpop? I guess a lot of Britpop people are Tories. We're going down a road.
We are.
She's so contemporary with the Spice Girls that you have to assume she is a little.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. If we're talking
Please
about
take us
mansions
back
as
from
well, I was thinking of the mansion in. Oh my god, what's the game? The Assassin game. Oh my god. And there's the house.
Hitman?
Yes, thank you, babes.
Oh yeah.
There's that level in Hitman with the big ass mansion, and then that is basically just like and then you have to go around and you have to like that. The house suddenly turns into like all these like different ways that you can kill people, which is kind of funny.
Oh,
that's such a good point.
Turning
Love that.
The most iconic level in Hitman still probably is the suburban house from Hitman Blood Money, A New Life, I think the level is called, where there's a mafia boss who's living just in a little suburban house on a regular American street, and you've got to try and sneak in, get past the FBI agents and kill him and his family. And there's something about this just normal ass suburban house that you can infiltrate and cause havoc within.
That is so funny.
Oh god.
Yeah,
it's like
turning it on themselves.
That's the thing. It's like this like high stakes assassin storyline, but you're in like suburban America with like barbecues and flamingos.
Oh yeah, I mean they revisit that with
flamingos.
Vengeance in the World of Assassination trilogy as well, don't they? Which is
They
the only
do.
one I really
They like
particularly know.
expanded out like 10 times.
It's
as
like
big.
a whole town, isn't it?
Brilliant.
It's a little town basically
Yeah.
that you can, and like it's so like Desperate Housewivesy. Everyone's a serial killer. There's people with
Absolutely.
like dark secrets in the basement.
Love that. Because like in
Definitely.
terms of like comedy and like using the house as that, like I loved the houses and Thank Goodness You're Here. I think they were so fucking funny. Iconically British, iconically from Yorkshire. Like even like the Princess Di plates on the wall.
The Princess Di plates.
It's just so fucking funny. Like the house is funny. Like in that game, the houses that you go in, even if it's just one room, it's just there's just so many jokes, like hidden jokes, or like jokes that are in plain sight, but if it's like a wink if you get it, and like you wouldn't notice it if you don't. Like, it's so good.
Oh,
houses as jokes, houses as punchlines to jokes. Well, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it definitely is just like in Thank Goodness You're Here. That it's the Princess Di plates are really funny. Especially when you smash them.
The painting of the World War II bomber.
That's
just such a
oh my god,
such a granddad thing.
Yeah, it really is.
Like I think there's a couple with holiday snaps, and I think it's the really horny couple, and there's just like holiday snaps on the wall that look like those really horny postcards that you get at like beaches and stuff.
Oh god, yeah.
The bit that always gets to me as well is when the chimney you keep crashing down at that one point. That when you have to at one point the way to navigate through is to just fall down that poor guy's chimney and like mess up his living room, and it's the little like brass like sweeping like hearth sweeping kit that's on the side that he's using all the time. Like every one of my relatives had that growing up. It's just so
and the pristine doilies as well.
Oh my god,
doilies everywhere. Doilies. Oh, I love that.
Yes. It's like if you grew up in the sort of leftovers of the 20th century in England, then yes,
doilies.
Yeah, recognise all of it so much.
What are doilies for? My grandma had them on every chair. The fuck were they for? Just decoration?
My grandma had them on the table. What is a doily?
Like on the end of are we talking about on the end of like your armrest on a chair?
Oh, they're everywhere. They're like the armrest, the headrest, they're tables everywhere.
Okay, it's a piece of paper or cloth with a pattern with little holes in it, used as decoration on a plate or under a cake. So I guess that was the beginning, and then the grandmas just took it.
They went ham. They went ham on doilies.
I've been using furniture wrong all my life because you're meant to be putting cake on it. Just meant to be putting cake everywhere.
My grandma definitely had a teapot on her, like on her doily. And her doily had beads on it. It was really cool. Anyway, so doily chat. just doily chat.
I've just kind of realised that because I have a desk mat. I have like a very big Genshin Impact desk mat over here. And that's kind of the millennial doily. If you think about it, it's the exact same thing. It's like I put something
that is
way more elaborate on this desk than I would. And it's like, what are desk mats for? They're to stop stuff getting on your desk. But I'd be more upset if I spilled on this.
We've peaked. That's the best thing we'll ever say on this podcast.
This is too much.
I've killed Rachel. It's fine.
Rachel is pacing the room right now.
No, okay.
A large mouse mat is a millennial doily.
This is a thing I truly believe is that like my anime figurines and plushie collection are just my ceramic angels, and my fancy mouse mats are just my doilies, and we are repeating our grandparents' whole vibe, but with a more anime focused.
Yeah, Nendoroids are the new Fabergé eggs.
Yeah, I have 3 Nendoroids behind me. Don't even look. I think Leah got a new one today.
It's like getting blasted by a jet engine. That's 2 for 2, by the way, and you give me an existential crisis with something quite mundane. Nendroids are the new Fabergé eggs.
It's too real.
I am not over the mouse mats. Desk mats, sorry. I'm not over
millennial doilies.
It is the same purpose. It is the exact same purpose because it is to decorate, but also to protect the core piece of furniture. But truly, I would be more upset if I spill coffee on my desk mat than on my desk. So it's already past the point where it's actually doing its intended. Like, oh man. Anyway,
that is so fucking funny.
I know.
It's brilliant. This is brilliant. This is the most emotionally distraught. I thought I'd be way more emotionally distraught talking about blueprints, put it that way, but somehow you've managed to probably make the next bit of this episode a bit more palatable.
But what this whole... Okay, I'm bringing it back. I'm the host, I'm bringing it back.
What
this whole chat demonstrates is that we see ourselves in video game houses. We do. We see a bookcase, I'm like... Right, is what's on that bookcase? I want to know. Is it like my bookcase? I see like a sofa or like a living room. I'm like, right, I want to see what this furniture is. Does it look like mine? Like we just if I see a doily in Thank Goodness You're Here, I'm just like, oh my God, that my grandma had those. Like, it's just, it's so personal.
Yeah.
Like, you can't help but see yourselves in these spaces. And unpacking is that's a really good example. You're just like, oh, I think that DVD box is The Exorcist. Like, you just can recognize it. It's just,
It's like nothing more humanizing than home, right? Like, it's where we are. It's where we are our most authentic selves. And of course, that's where we're going to, relate to people the most is when we see them in that most vulnerable space.
And that does make sense of the thing I was just trying to like tease out in real time of how many games actually do show something of the domestic life of the protagonist, regardless of like what other context it then goes into. You don't need to see Lara Croft's home, but it's a really interesting way of tutorializing you is to first show 100%. Her at home and then move out into the globetrotting adventure. Like
Life is Strange or Lost Records. Like those games are all about poking around the protagonist's bedroom and being like, ooh, what's this? What do they say about that? Like, it's so sweet. It's so nice. I love it. I love being a bit snooping through. I love being nosy, snooping through people's shit. Like, ooh, yay.
We all want to do it, don't we, in other people's houses? The power fantasy of a video game is that we actually get to open the drawers and have a root around.
100%. That is definitely part of it.
Whenever someone's bookcase is like, I don't know, if they're in a Zoom call, I'm looking at that bookcase. I'm like, what's on that bookcase? Zoom, enhance. What are your interests?
Okay, Zoom. Enhance. Rachel, were you saying something? Oh my God, I was trying to make a joke about the... Move on. Please, move on. Cut that out, please.
No, staying in. Are there other games with houses that we want to quickly chat about in terms of like, just there's an interesting point about them? Because for me, there's the Crush House.
I was about to say the exact same one.
Yes, girl, which takes this kind of like, it takes something that's familiar and morphs it into the hyper real to the point where it's like really kind of grim, and it's almost like a stage or like a setting for the TV show, because of course it's reality TV. Then it is supposed to be like a cozy home. Like, these people are supposed to feel comfortable, and this is used in like loads of reality TV, like Big Brother. Like, it's in a house so you feel comfortable and relaxed, so you can behave a certain way, but obviously you're being, observed 24 hours. And I think one of the things I loved about the Crush House was that this environment is very, very much captures that. It's a house that feels, it's super hostile if you're having a bad time, but if you're having a great, there's a pool, and like, it's just, you're supposed to feel comfortable, but also there's something sinister about it, for sure. Yeah. I love that house. It's so girly pop.
Yeah, on my mind for a few days thinking about this. And it's kind of a half remembered memory from my degree, so we're going back a while.
Ooh.
But the idea of like Coldhame, which is like I think it's a Scots word that literally means like cold home, but it also is used in kind of like psychological terms to mean uncanny and to like indicate something that's uncanny, because of the idea of like a place that should be comforting and familiar being unexpectedly cold, and like the way that because it's from the place I came across it was The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks, the novel, which is, it's the surname of the protagonist. That's that's a book about like, it's about family dynamics, but it's also about a serial killer, and the family name being Coldhame like really reflects that.
Oh, interesting.
And I just thought it was an interesting thing to bring up, is that kind of can, so if the word that we're using for something uncanny and uncomfortable is literally just like cold home in some like dialects and some languages, then that
it's such an evocative feeling though, right? Like when you come home and your house is freezing, it's not home yet, right? There's something off about it, and I love that as a descriptor. That's so interesting.
Or you go into someone else's house and it's not temperature cold, but it's like, it's cold.
It's frosty in here, yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
a bit like
definitely.
Frosty, like it's the energy thing again. It's just like,
yeah, that's just a thought that's been rattling around in my head for a few days as I've been playing loads of Blueprints, so I thought it was...
Well, unless we have any other houses we'd like to bring up, should we grab those keys, unlock the door, and step through the front doors of Blueprints to have a little chat?
Do you have enough gems?
No.
Gems. No. Never enough gems.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard us talk about blueprints before, here's the setup. Herbert S. Sinclair has passed away, and in his will, he's left his entire estate, the manor, the surrounding gardens, everything on his property to you, his grandnephew. But the twist is that the Mount Holly estate is yours, but only if you can find room 46. This room is somewhere hidden within the mansion, and you essentially need to find it. And the way you do that is each day you start at the mansion's front doors, and every time you reach a locked door, you're given a set of 3 room cards you can choose from a draft, a bigger pool of cards. Each card has a room on it, and you pick one room, you play it, and then as the door opens, that room will appear magically on the other side of the door. And so essentially the game works in runs. You draft rooms as they come up and as you make your way through the mansion. But sometimes each room will have a different number of doorways. Sometimes they could be dead ends. And so often you can be drafting your pathway through the house and be met with a dead end or a locked door, and you don't have any keys, so you can't open it. There's a lot of different ways that can end your quote unquote run. Another thing that can end your run is that you have a step counter of 50. And every time you enter a room, your step counter goes down by 1. And when you run out of steps, you run out of energy. And so you're essentially like booted out of the mansion. And then the next day happens, and here's the thing. Your house that you've built the previous day is completely wiped clean. You start off from scratch and you must rebuild the rooms in the mansion. And so the structure of the game is you basically, it's like a roguelike where each day you step through the mansion's front doors, you need to build certain rooms to get as far into the mansion as you can, looking for this room 46. And then when you can't get any further, your day resets. And so Blueprints is focused on this kind of like looping structure. And yeah, reviews have come out today. It's been received pretty well. It's not, I don't think
that's an understatement. God, I'd probably say it's the highest rated game of the year at the moment.
I think at the time of recording, it was 1 point ahead of Split Fiction on Metacritic when I looked a couple of hours ago. So,
okay, scratch that. It's been received incredibly well.
The top received game of the year at the time of recording.
Right. So with that out of the way, do you want to talk about when we first played it and our initial impressions before we get into all that good stuff? And Liam, why don't you go first?
No, absolutely not. Are you kidding
go
me?
First. You go first, Liam. Liam, you want to go first?
No.
You want to go first?
Rebecca needs to go first, not me. Save me for last.
All right. Rebecca, you kick us off.
So I know that I've talked about this on the podcast before. I played the demo back in January. Sorry. This has been... I just feel for context that we won't go right into it, but I feel like the listeners would benefit from knowing how frantic our group Discord and our private DMs to each other have been over the past couple of weeks as we've played this game.
I've subjected these two to a full-blown mental breakdown, I think is the only way of describing. But
meanwhile,
we'll get to me.
Rachel and I are in another private chat with each other because we're further along in the game, just like screaming incoherently, but like both very enthusiastic about late game puzzles as well.
Yeah.
So
like if I didn't make it obvious in the description, it's kind of like, it's a puzzle game, but if you have played Outer Wilds, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Where we can't really directly talk about it because there's a lot of secrets, there's a lot of mysteries, and yeah. So forgive us if we're going to be dancing around a lot of the finer points.
We're going to try not to
absolutely.
spoil too, because it really does. It's very worth going into this kind of not knowing too much about it, but to describe it as like a roguelite puzzle game.
Sure.
Mystery is probably gives a good sense of what it is. And yeah, I played the demo back in January. The demo has been doing the rounds since I think the last Steam Next Fest back in October, I think was when a lot of people played it. I was a bit late to it, but yeah, I saw it streamed. I immediately was hooked watching it streamed and had to go and play it myself. Literally, it was a real drop what you're doing moment for me, and I just went and downloaded the game and played that obsessively for probably about 6 hours. Yeah, just the demo. 6 to 10 hours in the demo. I can't remember exactly. It was a few months ago now, but and yeah, I got my hands on the game about 3-4 weeks ago. It is now my third most played game on Steam. I'm 50 hours in, nearly, at the time of recording. Honestly, I could see it going to 50 more. I do. It's absolutely my game of the year so far. I can see it being my game of the year overall very easily. Yeah. And yeah, I just the whole thing of this game is this feeling, this image I've had in my head of this game is, I remember there was, of all things, a Stephen King quote about trying to write a poem and like trying to get your fingers under the lid of the poem and like just get a little bit of purchase, and suddenly the whole lid comes off and you get inside and suddenly everything opens up and it's like and that's how I feel so much about Blueprints, because it does feel like you spend a lot of time like feeling around the edge of a problem, trying to understand the outline and the nature of the problem that you're facing without ever seeing the main space in the middle. And then suddenly that, you know, you'll get your purchase, the lid will lift back and you've seen a hell of a lot more of the game. And I think if there's, I personally love this gameplay loop because for some reason, I don't know why, I have infinite patience for this sort of problem solving. I just sit, and at one point I was in a room, just one room for an hour, just trying to solve the room. And that was the point, to be fair, that was the most frustrated I've been with this game. I was ready to walk out of the room and give up. Incidentally, I will say, I didn't realise that is actually a room that you're meant to solve over multiple visits. I didn't understand that at the time. And it's also interesting, I think, to note as well that I've been playing it with my partner, as in we've been co-playing the same game. Rachel and her partner have been playing their own iterations of the game. So that's like, I can't take too much credit. The problem solving in mine has been very much a collaborative effort throughout. And I do think that has made it more enjoyable. Friend of the podcast, Mick, and I love playing puzzle games together. And it's definitely like, in terms of that, it's taking us back to the really good days of like Heaven's Vault, of just sitting and working on a problem together, loads of notes all spread out. Like, it's a really nice, it's, I think, a lot nicer to play with a second person probably than to sit and play alone, although that might just be how I interact with these games. But yeah, it is that, what am I thinking? The rhythm of gameplay is like that to me. It's like you spend a lot of time figuring stuff out, and then there's like the euphoria of suddenly a lot of new options open up, and then after you kind of had 20 minutes of enjoying that, it's kind of back to the point of like, okay, now it's like another 3-4 hours of research, and like I love research, so that's probably why this game is working so well for me.
It's a good word to use for this, I think.
Yeah, is that we'll just be like, every time we're going through the house, and obviously it changes every day, and you can't guarantee, almost nothing is guaranteed on an individual run of this game. You can't get too attached to what you want to happen. But at the end of every run, Mick and I will go over what we learned. And we've always been like, I think there's been maybe out of 30 odd days we've played now in game, there's been like 1 or 2 where we're like, we didn't learn anything today. There's incremental progress every time. And you add to your notes and you add to your understanding of the situation. And like, if you're weird like us and just loved school so much, you stayed for about a decade longer than you had to. And like, it's great if you're a real puzzle sicko.
Yeah, it definitely. So the way I came across the game was I was covering a Next Fest, and I missed the demo for Blueprints, but it cropped up in the Thinky Games Discord. So everyone was chatting about it there. And I was like, okay, I'll play the demo. Played a couple hours of the demo, was like, yeah, this is pretty, I'm really enjoying this demo. Like, this is a great premise. Love that. Yeah, played it for review. I'm also around, I don't know, 30 something hours, maybe a bit more. And goddamn, this game is a problem. It's an obsession. And
oh, yeah.
I loved Lorelei and the Laser Eyes from last year a lot. And there's a lot of similarities. They're both in big houses. They both focus on puzzle solving, keys and resources. Although Blueprints has a lot more mechanics and gameplay systems than Lorelei does.
It's more gamey.
But yes, exactly. But Blueprints has me in this like vice where, because there's just a lot of combinations of items and rooms and information. I just feel like each run, I am always discovering something new. And if I don't, that's okay, because I can reset completely and I will have a fresh start. It doesn't feel like a loop means nothing to me. It's almost like, oh, it's fine if I didn't learn much, because tomorrow the different combinations will lead me down different paths. And this game is really clever in that you don't just have to focus on what rooms connect in terms of doorways, but in terms of like information as well. There's almost like, if I trigger something in this room, something in another room in the house, something might happen there. So these invisible connections are something that you also have to map out. So you have the physicality of the house, but also this invisible web of connections, and keeping track of those two it's just been so interesting, because I've not really played a game where that's been a thing before. It's like, and there's so much to do. My checklist, I always like having a checklist of things I need to do, otherwise I'll forget. I've had to rewrite it and rewrite it over and over again, like 3, 4, 5 times, because there's just new things keep cropping up, new mysteries keep happening, new item combinations where I'm like, right, okay, so now that I figured this out, I should go back to this other room on another run to maybe try this out. And I just feel like there's just so much of it. The scope of this game is immense. Like, I had no idea going in. I was like, yeah, 30-hour game, all good.
Yes.
No. We were talking about this before, but like, people in the press Discord have gone up to like over 100 hours, and I'm not surprised.
Absolutely.
Like, I can see myself doing that.
It's worth clarifying, neither of us quite clearly have finished it. I feel like
yeah.
I'm at 50 hours. I feel like I could be halfway through. I feel like it could be more than halfway through.
It's an Animal Well situation where if you've hit credits and you love that for you, and you're just like, this is great, I've had enough, the credits are enough for me, that's fine. But like Animal Well, there's more if you want it. And like with Animal Well, I mean, there's not really spoilers, everyone knows this, but there's like 3 or 4 different like endings. Like there's 3 or 4 layers in total. With Blueprints, you can't even there's not even layers. It's just like, okay, with Animal Well, it was like a cake or a burger. There's like levels. But in Blueprints, it's like a buffet. Where do I start? Do I go over there? Yes. Go over here? But that mac and cheese might go good with that sauce on the other side of the table. So I have to go back and forth across everything, and there's so much, and I'm never full. I'm hungry for more. I'm just like, I could eat. I like, there's just so much, and then the waiter comes on. He's like, well, actually, and then he flips the table over, and there's more underneath, and I'm like, oh my god, but I'm not intimidated. I'm like, oh my god, I could just keep eating. It's like, it's wow. It's amazing. I'm just like, I'm having a great time with it, and I think I have the capacity with the video games to be like, right, I've played it, move on. Right, I've played it, moved on. And with Blueprints, when someone's like, I mean, on the podcast before, like, you guys have talked about a game, or we've looked up a game that's like 10 hours. I'm like, 10 hours, okay, like, I'll make time for it. 50 hours is, 20 hours, no way. 50 hours, you're out of your fucking mind. With this game, it's the first time where I'm just like, great. 100 hours? I've never put 100 hours in a game. I'm looking at my Steam account right now. Never. Not even like some of my favorite games I've put 100 hours in. Easily with Blueprints, I think I'm going to reach that. It's what I've never had this sort of relationship with the game before.
You know, I actually wanted to touch on that, because I was saying to Mick earlier, and he agreed that it kind of has a very retro feel to it, in my opinion, in that it reminds me of a time when I was not employed in games media. I was not an adult with a lot of things that I wanted to do with my time. I could get obsessed with a game and just play that game for 3 months. And it really is. I never now go into a game thinking I'll play that for more than, I mean, potentially like a couple of hours. And if I'm not into it, I'm like, I've got to go. I've got to move on. There's so much that I want to do as a games media professional and as a gamer that I have to cycle through things quite quickly, and if something sticks, it sticks, and great, but you can't go in with that intention. But this is really taking me back to like those
interesting.
We were saying it's like a season-long game. It feels like the game that you played over your summer holidays in school, the game that was just that, that got its hooks in you, and you just like upset, and it like becomes part of the season that you play it in. Like, it's been nice watching spring happen while playing this game has done something to my brain that's really nice.
Interesting.
But yeah, it just has that. It is hooked me in a very specific way, where even though over the past few years I have found games that I've loved and have put like tens of hours into, not knowing that I would going in, it still feels more like I can be so single-minded about this. It was all I played this weekend. That's so rare for me. Everything that I'm usually on, like the live service stuff that I go on, I'm like, no, I don't need to get in that right now. I can put that aside, because it's just, it really gets. And also, I just wanted to mention, have you had like Tetris dreams about it? Because I've had lots of Tetris dreams about this, about laying out the house.
I told you about this, but have you? I've told Rebecca about this, but I'm having it, but when I'm awake.
Yeah. Oh God, you were saying earlier. Yeah.
So Henry will be like, "Oh, so because we're doing up the house, he's like, oh, so that windowsill, the window. So I was thinking we do this to it. And I'm like, you can't do that in Blueprints. There's no window you can do that with the Blueprints. What's he talking about? And he's like, no, I'm talking about the house we live in. And I'm like, oh, okay. I thought he was talking. And then I'd say to him like, oh yeah, so with the garage we could do this. And he's like, what? Oh, not like we keep thinking the other's talking about Blueprints.
That's so funny.
And I'm like, oh no,
so real.
But yeah, all that being said, me and Rebecca gabbing on about it.
Indeed.
Liam, I would genuinely love to hear your point of view, and I want this is a safe space. I just want you to just tell us your feelings.
Counsel for the prosecution, you have the floor. Like,
can I, before I give my opinion about this game, Rebecca, can I ask,
hello,
what is it, the core bodily felt reason that you love this game? I just love to know, what is it about it that has just appealed to you this much?
Yeah.
I think, as I have probably already touched on, it's kind of, it occupies a new space. I've never played a game quite like this before, but in the vein of stuff I have loved in the past. So as I say, it's something that I can play with my partner. It's something that I feel like a long-term investment in. But also, so there have been other games that have done that before, but this isn't just doing that again. And it's got also, the thing that I need from games is it's got a mixture of systems and story. And that is where I get very, very alive as well, is when there's a great story that you're teasing out, but the systems, you can forget the story while you're just playing with the systems. So there we go.
Nice. No, that's interesting. When I was at university in my second year, the student union did this thing where you could get cheap tickets to Alton Towers.
Ooh.
And I hate roller coasters. I don't understand them. I don't get them. They make me feel bad. But I would pay to go to Alton Towers to just spend the day with my friends and see them appreciate the roller coasters. Yes, I'd be holding the coats, and people would laugh, and people wouldn't understand why I didn't want to go on them. But I enjoyed seeing people go on these things that I couldn't get anything out of, but could live vicariously through them. That's how I feel about this game. Now, fundamentally, I don't like this game. It makes me feel so frustrated in my body in a way that I don't think many games have over the years. But I've endured that to the tune of 17 hours, which went very fast. So what I will say about Blueprints is that it's a very well-made game. Spending time in it, walking around, it's a beautiful looking game. It's got some really nice sort of like muted cel-shaded graphics. The audio design is a particular highlight. The footsteps of the protagonist as you walk between different rooms, the sound of footsteps on carpet to stone to wood. It's a very, very delicately put together game, presentation-wise and mechanically. And also you have this just sense that you're playing something very special. And I do think that when I saw the reviews today, I may not have agreed with them, but I understood them. And I think it's very deserving of the gongs it's going to get at the end of this year. It deserves to be the best rated game. I understand it. I've had moments playing this where I've been like, fuck, I get this. I get the investment, the research. I've put time into this and something has come out of it. I just don't get the roguelike bit. I really don't. The idea that there is a solution infuriates me, and it just goes to show that it's not made for me. When you said before, Rebecca, that you have infinite patience, I think that is the thing. I think I just don't have the infinite patience for it. There is a way to get to room 46, and it slowly unravels as you play the game. But every day you play it and you open up the doors, you get 3 rooms to draft from, and those rooms will either be a dead end or they will have 1 or 2 doorways going off it. Sometimes the game will just draft you in a corner. And I understand that the whole point is to learn things and to take them away from you, but I'm still investing time in this game. And sometimes it'll be like, you've run out of keys, Sunshine. Even though you've got 6 doors left, you're done. Or you haven't got enough gems. Or tough shit, we're just going to draft you in a corner and now you're stuck no matter how close you are to the solution. And I think if you don't have the part of you that can spend an hour in a room, like Rebecca's saying, if there's not a part of you that can like really absorb and spend time, you might be like me and you might just find this to be baffling and make no sense to you as a concept. Like, items are randomly generated, so sometimes you might do a run and just an item that you need just hasn't appeared, and it's like, oh, okay. And it's very, very difficult. And I think the best way of describing this game is a bit like how Elden Ring is one of the highest rated games of all time, and there are so many people out there who are like, I can't play it.
Yep.
And that's sort of like what this is. It's Dark Souls for dumb people, because I just can't get into it.
You're not dumb, but the point does stand that everything that you said about how you feel about this game is exactly how I felt about Elden Ring. So I've got every ounce of sympathy with your position on this. It's so weird when you're the person on the outside, like, I thought this was not fun, and everyone else is like, it's amazing.
But this is the thing that is so. This is how I can appreciate it as a game so much, is that it is fun, like finding these things and writing them down. And I have a notebook full of things, and I love that bit. It's just, it feels like the game is actively like, you know, the solution to these things, but
yeah,
well, see you in 25 days when you actually do draft the one room you need. And it's just a bit like, or am I not getting it?
The thing with that though is there is a kind of almost, I kind of draw the line at saying sinister. But there is an aspect to this game where it is actually like, it's using stuff that gets your brain addicted. That's why we're getting Tetris dreams. That's why, you know, because it is using, if the maker of this game had chosen to turn their attention to microtransactions rather than, you know,
I would have bought them.
This would have been a force. Exactly. This would have been a force for evil, for sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, there is that part of me that is a big gacha gamer, although, again, I would like to say as a disclaimer, don't spend money on gacha games. I don't do it, and I don't recommend anyone else does. But, like, it kind of is occupied. Like I say, I haven't really checked in with my live service games while I've been playing this, because it's clearly filling that space in my brain. And I think what you've described when you've talked about kind of hating the experience but going through it anyway, it is almost more like addiction. And there definitely is that element to this where you're very hooked on it in it's so compelling. And as I say, that it's not really sinister because you've already got your copy. There's nothing else that the developers want from you other than for you to experience more of their game. But it's using that same like brain candy that is quite devious, I think, to keep you compelled through it, even if you're angry with it, which I think, Rachel, you probably like bear this out with me as well. After 50 hours, you've been angry with this game at some point. It screwed you over to the point where you're like, I'm mad at you. I'm actually mad at you for how I had all but one of the element of the perfect run, and then I had to go and start again from nothing. So it definitely happens.
Blueprint is like someone gives you a jigsaw, right? And you start building the jigsaw and there's pieces missing. And you're like, there's pieces missing. And the person's like, oh, okay. just start again, and takes it away from you, rehands it to you all broken up again. And you have to redo the jigsaw, but there's always pieces missing. But the joy of it is each time you build that jigsaw, you see a different part of the picture. And so in the first part, you'd be like, oh, I got this corner. But that is frustrating. The RNG elements are going to bite you in the ass. It's the nature of roguelikes. That's why I don't personally get along with Binding of Isaac or like those kind of hardcore roguelikes. It's because I can't handle that. I like my weapon. Let me beat up these bosses. Like, I can't handle the randomness. So I really understand that for some, and puzzle lovers, if you are someone who likes solving puzzles methodically and you like doing it very much like, I'm going to solve this, then this game is not for you. You have to juggle multiple pieces of information, multiple puzzle pieces, multiple bits of story simultaneously. Like, no one has played this game without notes because it's impossible. And if you don't like that in a video game, this game is not for you. And that is fair. It's not like saying, like, I don't like this game because of the art style, which I do sometimes. That's not very fair, because sometimes you should give the game a go. That's not fair. But if you're genuinely like, the RNG is so grating, and I, again, don't have the patience or the energy or whatever, I'm just not enjoying it. That is absolutely fair. Like, like Rebecca said, that I've had so many annoying, like grumbles of annoyances, and learning to let go of that has been its own interesting piece of introspection on my part when playing it. Just being like, you know what? I'm still going to give this a go. Like, even when I have a shitty run or I have to end a day early because I didn't have this, that, and the other, it's just felt good almost for me to start afresh and let go of all those mistakes or all that shit. I'm just like, I get to start again from zero, but that's annoying. It's an annoying aspect.
I've just realized something. We're having the opposite reaction that we did to Wonderstop.
Yes. This crossed my mind. When you were taught, it's interesting when two of us really like a video game and the other one's like, I get it, I just don't like it. Then that's valid. That's totally valid. Right? Except that with me, it was worse because I was like, this cozy game is not cozy for me.
I need you all to know, everyone listening, I have been insufferable for the last 2 weeks. The amount of shit I send to the Discord that the three of us are in, where basically I'm just folding my arms and being like, I don't fucking get it. This is what I'm doing. But I played it for like 3 hours while I'm doing this. So it's, But it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And I think the fact that they've been able to marry those two bits together, because like you say, puzzle games are normally methodical. You have access to you have the ability to solve the solution. Like how do I say this? Quite often in puzzle games, I feel like you find the solution bit, like the bit that you need to plug the answer into first, and then you go off and find sort of the answer. In this game, it's spread out so wide and so vast that quite often you might find the entire answer before you even find the bit that it relates to. And the fact of being able to do that is pure magic. Like, this game is pure magic. And the fact it's on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus is like the perfect place for it to be. If you have access to those services, just download it and play it for an hour. Because
you'll know.
You need to just, you need to hold it in your hands to know if you're going to like it or not. But yeah, it's, what a thing. I've never been angrier at a game, but I'm also happy that I've played it.
Girl, video games, man. It's so wild, isn't it? Just like
it is.
Having these two feelings simultaneously is just amazing. It's so interesting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So are you done with it? Are you like, I'm done? Or how are you feeling?
After 17 hours, and after my poor, long-suffering fiance listening to me rant about this game about a little boy in a house, then she was like, you've lost your mind. She was like, can I see it? And I went, yeah, you can see it. So I sat down and I showed her it, and I was so grumpy. So grumpy. And I was sat there on my laptop like, well, fucking, I'm at a dead end now. I can't find the key. And she was like, oh, it's quite interesting though, isn't it? And I was like, no. And then last night she went, can you show me blueprints again? And I went, I don't want to.
Oh,
she went, go on, just show me it again. And then an hour and a half we spent on it, and she solved 2 or 3 puzzles that I didn't. And she was like, I like this. We should keep playing it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I think I might try and finish it. But I don't know. Maybe having
let us know how you get on with that.
my actual intelligent wife with me will help. But
I do think the two person system of tag teaming I played Lorelei with Henry, and we had such a good time. The only reason I didn't do it with Blueprints is because I had to review it, and then I went away to Barcelona for a week and left him with it, and I was like, you should just play this. And then we got back, and he was like, this is like one of the best, like I'm really enjoying it, like I'm having such a good time. And now and then I was like, oh, that's great. So like when the review's out, I'll just wait for you to reach where I am, and then we can play it together. Not happening. I immediately regretted it when I said that. I was like, I can't let I need to know now. I need to play my run now. But it's like I think having 2 people helps, because when you're feeling fatigued and frustrated, the other person can be like, right, well. And it's a great 2-person game. It really is.
It's a lovely 2-person game, especially because like I would probably still be in the first billiards room, just refusing to do maths if.
Yeah, me too.
Mick wasn't with me.
Hate those puzzles.
I actually like them, but I like having a smart maths brained person with me to do the because I'll go, okay, I can do the simple stuff, and like it's fun because I can figure out the rules when it gets more complicated, but I'm not doing the actual maths. I'm like, here's the rule, you do the number thing.
Yeah, and that's the only part of the game which I really don't like, because I'm terrible with maths puzzles, and I'm just like, I hate this. And the fact that you do have to do it almost every run because it's so helpful, but now I avoid it. Now it's so difficult now. I can't do it. I can't.
I have 2 billiards rooms in my house now because of shenanigans, and so I.
Why did you make that decision, or was it made for you?
It was made for me.
I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would hate that. What was the duplicates of rooms I've got? Aquarium, and it was a stupid one. But again, I didn't decide it. It was made for me. So
yeah. Yeah.
That's the game for you. What are we talking about? Ooh. Yeah, no more new video games on this podcast. No more hyperfixations from me and Rebecca, because we're playing this to the end of the year.
Yeah.
God, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm carrying it now. You better like boomer shooters and action games, because that's all you're getting.
Come on. Hey, let's just take a minute to remember that we've got Lost Records Part 2 coming out next week. So we do have a point at which we'll all join back up. So it's not.
That's the thing. There are so many good games out right now. I'm just like, oh my god, I could play this.
It's a solid year for indies. Such a good year for indies already.
Oh, it's This year already feels like a banger year.
It does.
Like, the amount of stuff that's
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that all? Any other little tidbits about Blueprints before we swiftly move on? I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Probably not.
I want to scream about it with you for about another 15 hours, but we should probably do that away from the listeners and Liam, who I think would be equally inconvenienced by...
the number of messages I've sent to you in all caps with multiple exclamation marks.
Rachel! I
also, what the fuck is this? There's so many times I've been like, what is this? Can you give me a hint? Can you help me out?
Yeah, but we've both been there. I think that's one last thing I did maybe want to say about it, is that I like that we've got almost equal playtime, but our experiences of it have been quite different.
So different.
That is really interesting.
I'm probably on half the day count you're on.
Yes.
And we've both seen things that the other one thought was either at a very different point of the game or hadn't seen at all. Yeah. And
our play styles are different, and I love that the game allows you to do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just the variety in this game is amazing, because we have all had different experiences of it. Like wildly different experiences of it, despite the fact that we're playing what seems like it shouldn't have that much variety in it when you get down to it.
That's the biggest surprise, I think, for everyone, is this is a much deeper well than
absolutely. I looked at this and I was like, 20-hour game, and it's like, it took me 18 hours to roll credits, and I was like, that seems fair. But I feel like there's a couple of things I haven't done, and I feel like when it is one of those games where you roll credits and you're like, and now the real game, you know? Like, which
normally I'd be like, fuck that shit, but here I'm like,
absolutely, me too. But like, On this one, I'm like, okay, I'm in it for the long haul. Like I say, it's creeping up on
Buckle
Baldur's
up.
Gate 3. About another 3 hours, and it'll overtake Baldur's Gate 3 on my
shit.
Steam list. And then we keep going.
How far?
I think that-
Who knows? I
don't
thought
know.
I'm like,
I
I'm
don't
at the
even
end.
know.
I'm at the end bit now. I thought that maybe 3 times. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this must be the last bit. Oh,
Wow.
okay, this must be the. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Now this is it.
Yeah. I love that we haven't even really touched on, and we shouldn't, because it is so worth finding out in context. There is a whole story. This is, the
Yes.
story is so much more than your uncle's left you this house.
Yeah, if you think the story is just like your bastard of a granduncle has just been like, haha, lol, find this room, otherwise you don't get anything. It's just the beginning.
Right.
Oh my god. But yeah.
There's a good set of reasons why he did what he did, and you're going to be digging down that rabbit hole for dozens of hours.
In the fiction of the game, are the rooms changing? Like,
Yes.
are they
Yeah.
being placed in there as you're drafting them?
Well, this is one of the things that gets me about this game, is when you realise that the Ludo narrative is such that the characters in this world just accept that this is how houses work, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
There's like a note, and they talk about, we should keep this in the draft pool. We should keep this room in the draft pool.
Yeah, they refer to it like that, don't they? Of like, oh, it
Yes.
took me ages to get to this room. Like, how
Yeah.
bizarre.
How
Yeah, and-
bizarre.
You find like architects' manuals and things, so it's all clearly like in universe. This is how the world works, which I think is
Yeah, it's fascinating.
weirdly charming.
Just cool.
It's,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
be shitting myself in a hallway every single day.
Yeah.
Oh
I would
god,
stink.
'Cause
I'd
you
never have
actually-
showered for weeks.
Yeah,
There's
I've
only
pissed
one
myself multiple
lavatory,
times.
and you don't want to get it because it's a bad room to get. Objectively, like it's.
Yeah.
But what is it? Is it? There must be something there.
I just don't know if there is, Rachel. I just don't know if there is.
must be
'cause
something as they cart me away in the back. There must be something. The lavatory. But I don't want to waste my steps going in. But
I've
also,
clicked everything in there so many times, Rachel. I think it's just a joke, but is that how they get me? I don't know.
this fucking game, I love it.
I know,
What
right?
a thing.
Proper
What a
addicts
thing.
over here. Just.
Oh,
I really love this for you. I'm stood by the side holding your coat and I'm watching you do loop the loops. And I really need you to know how much I've enjoyed that. But I'm never getting on it again.
Fair enough. Side note, I actually do love roller coasters, so it's really good to know that if we ever do
There you go.
Indieventure trip to Alton Towers.
I love roller coasters too.
There we go. And I would
Now,
pay to go
see-
with you both.
Aw. What is
Yay.
that? Okay, right. Is there something we can make of this? Is it the roller coaster brain and the blueprints brain? Is that actually a thing? Is it correlation? Is it,
Ooh.
Interesting.
That's not a serious
Get in
question. We don't
touch.
have to,
Oh yeah.
don't worry too hard about
If
that.
you
Like-
no, let's find out. Email us contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Do you like roller coasters and also blueprints?
Is there a correlation?
Are you a
Is there a
sick
correlation?
thrill seeker, or are you normal like Liam?
Not normal. I am the outlier based on those
Hey,
reviews.
just because you're the outlier doesn't mean that you're not the normal one. I strongly feel that.
That feels
We
like
have-
dangerous thinking in the modern climate, Rebecca.
I don't know. I just feel like we've self-selected for the sort of people who already want to be well into a puzzle game, which I feel like kind of
Yeah.
skews the sample, to be honest.
That's very true.
Right.
Anyway,
With that,
Good chat.
good chat.
this is so fun. Thank you. Thank
This
you
is
for holding the
great.
coats, Liam. It's genuinely very kind of you to let us be so excited
I
about this.
felt like
at
I shouldn't have
length.
said anything for that. I felt like I should have had a 2-minute thing at the end.
No,
But
it's always good.
The points you make are very good points. I think that, it's... I hope that for our listeners as well, it helps to hear that point of
I
view.
hope so.
Because,
Absolutely.
whether this game is for you or not, I hope that this has helped to create some clarity on that ahead of time,
Played on Game Pass.
Little tiny Tim will be out there being like, "I didn't get along with it either. I must. No one agrees with me." And then he'll listen to the podcast and he'll be like, "Oh,
Feels seen.
Do we have many 19th century urchin listeners?
So many. It's like 80%. It's weird. In the demographics, it just says little urchin boy.
Victorian ghost child.
Yeah, 86%. And the retention rate on them is high because they've got very little to do. That really got you, didn't it?
I really can't.
the little urchin boy.
I was just imagining they can't pause because their hands aren't always corporeal. So once they've pressed play, they're kind of locked into the whole episode.
Yes.
What? That almost sounds like listening to our podcast as some kind of like punishment or like afterlife curse that they have.
Well, we don't know how moral these Cockney urchins were in life. We can't say for sure. Maybe it's the reward. You just press play and then you can just float in the ether and enjoy it for however long we usually run for, 2 hours.
Sorry you died in a mine, age 12. But don't worry, you can now listen to every episode of the Indieventure podcast.
The black one? No worries. Listen to Indieventure podcast.
Really does put it all in perspective.
Oh, thank you, God. I don't know what a Steam Deck is.
What's a mansion? I live in a hole. Who's first? Who wants to go first? Let's go.
I can go first to talk about a game I've also been playing this week that I really like. So another game that I think it's out the same day as Blueprints, I think.
The reviews dropped the same day. Blueprints is out on the 10th.
Let me look.
It's a
I think it's
Thursday.
it'll be out by the time this podcast out. But
okay.
I've been playing Promise
same day.
Mascot. It's same day.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So I've been playing Promise Mascot Agency, which is the new game by Kaizen Gameworks, who made Paradise Killer. And I love it. This is my haul. It's made just for me. Speaking of games that not everyone will get on with, this is very much going to be an acquired taste game. But if you are into the same kind of soup of references that I am, such as Deadly Premonition, like Harvest Moon, Yakuza, Persona, this game is something really, really special, and I really, really love it. So in this game, you play as Michi, who is a Yakuza who gets exiled from his family after losing 12 billion yen and is sent to a cursed island called Kasomachi. The curse is that if young Yakuza men go to this island, the spirits will kill them slowly over a period of time. You're tasked with setting up or revitalizing a mascot agency. And in that mascot agency, you find Pinky, who is a severed pinky finger mascot. In this world, mascots are living, breathing creatures that are born and have families and human parents and grandparents. And it's your job to work with Pinky, who is like a psychotic icon, honestly. She's brilliant. And you go around this quite large open world in a little truck with Pinky in the back screeching constantly. And your job is to recruit new mascots, find new places to run mascot events, and just pootle around in your truck and try and raise 12 billion yen. When I played the demo, I thought this game was one thing, and now that I've played it for like 9 hours, I played 9 hours over the weekend of this, it's actually something very different. It is a game about running mascot events, and there's like a card game in there, but really you don't play the card game that much as the game progresses. It's more about just like assigning all of these mascots to different events to earn a load of money, and then you're just like balancing the books. You've got to make sure that you're investing in the mascot agency, in the island. You've got to clean it up, and also send money back home to make sure that the matriarch of your Yakuza family doesn't get killed. And actually, this is a game about community in a way that I just really wasn't expecting. It's a game about finding people and bringing them together and sort of going against local politicians and incumbent mayors who are corrupt and bringing a sense of hope back to a society that's been failed by the government. And I was really shocked that was really what the game was about. And it's just brilliant. It's about making money, having a pootle around, doing some mysteries, talking to some fun people, finding some really cool mascots like Salary Nyan, who's a cat who wants to be in the finance sector.
Nyan, for God's sake.
It's so good. And it's very well written, which is to be expected from Kaizen. And it's so different to Paradise Killer. I think if you love Paradise Killer, this might not be for you. It is very different, but it is very much a Kaizen game. But it's just the ultimate good hang of a game. I've just had such a lovely time playing it, and I can't wait to play some more. I think I'm not even halfway through it. I think it's about a 20-hour game, but it's very, very good. And yeah, maybe if you're not a Blueprints person, you might be a Promise Mascot Agency person.
That's so interesting, because like when we were talking about the demo, like we was quite lukewarm on it. Because I remember us two chatting, but now you've you've played for longer, and the demo was like a certain point in the game as well. It wasn't from the beginning, but you've totally like flipped. Like it's like really, really good now.
It needed room to breathe.
Because I'm worried, because I loved Paradise Killer. I didn't. The demo was fine. I definitely still want to play it, but I don't have the same soup of interests. But because I want to give it a go and see what it's like, though, for sure. But I might be in that category. I might be the one that you're talking about potentially. But it's so unique. That's why I want to play it.
It is, and it's unlike anything I've played before.
Yes.
But I think it'd be interesting to see what you think, because I think it is of an acquired taste. But it's good. It's got like an Ace Attorney style like local politic debate.
I've heard of this.
Like mechanic in it. It's very, very fun. It like encourages you to pay attention to all the dialogue in the game and like really embed yourself in this society and understand the community. And yeah.
Cool.
Interesting as well. I'd be very interested to see how it stacks up, because it's not Paradise Killer. It's something very, very different. Yeah.
Good for them.
It's good.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
They just
honestly good for them.
It's still bonkers. That's the thing it has in common with Paradise Killer. I feel like it's like so off the wall in terms of what it's about. That's why I want to play it. I'm like, it just sounds like so weird and wonderful.
I definitely give it a try. But I think the demo, I think it's a hard game to demo. I think if you play the demo and you're like, I don't really get this, I think when you play the full thing, you're like, okay, maybe you embed yourself in it a bit more and can see it as the full shape of it. But yeah, it's good.
Nice. Oh, April 10th is going to be a hell of a day for people who are at the intersection of Blueprints and Promised Mascot Agency, which I suspect I might be. But I haven't got around to Promised Mascot Agency yet, because I'm too locked into Blueprints. It's like, honestly, my plans for the next several weeks have changed significantly after realising how long that game is. So, I don't know, man.
There'll be the Promised Mascot Agency clan and the Blueprints clan, and they'll have a war, a battle. And Promised Mascot Agency will win because it's all Yakuza and creepy mascots.
Yeah, right. And there's just one very fey 14-year-old who can't even mantle, on the other hand. Is like, it's not going to go well, is it?
He's like, Grandpapa! It's like,
I've got my little safari hat, Grandpapa.
To be fair, I would punch that child in the face. He's kind of annoying, but he doesn't say anything. You don't really know much about him, but I would punch him in the face.
I don't like him, but I think that's probably more because I had to be him in that world.
Get your shoes wet. Get your shoes wet. Mantle up a small incline and get your shoes wet, kid. This will go so much quicker if you're willing to do either of those things.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
I do. Obviously, I love that game, but also like just snarking at the protagonist. Like, you can't just yell at him, right? You're not allowed to just yell at him, but like sideswiping everything about his character as a moral human being is like what gets me through sometimes. Anyway.
When you were saying before that the Promised Mascot Agency clan and the Blueprints clan would fight each other and Promised Mascot would win, I don't think so, because Promised Mascot Agency is about redemption and learning to love yourself and the people around you. Those people are nice. Blueprints has a dark heart, a sinister, evil heart.
Sickos.
And I think you'd run towards Blueprints and they'd draft a pit of spikes in front of you, and as you bleed they'd say, 18 millimeters of blood. Oh, that must be a solution to a puzzle I haven't found yet. Oh, time to draft myself in a corner. Anyway, we'll move on.
Grabbing the sledgehammer, the battery pack, and the broken lever and combining them. Times that by how many Blueprints players there are.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about the episode that we're doing when we're together in a few weeks, and I think I want to make sure that I can get Simon from Blueprints in it.
I bet you do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Rebecca, would you like to tell us about your hyperfixation?
Yes, I would. So my hyperfixation, other than Blueprints, which goes without saying, although we have just spent the last 2 hours saying it, so, you know,
worth repeating,
is at the moment, and by at the moment, I mean literally since yesterday, I've been reading the new Gregory Maguire Wicked novel, which I didn't know was coming out until it did. So that was like a very nice surprise. Because usually I'm quite clued into authors I like. I don't know if this was a bit of a shadow drop or if I was just occupied with other things and didn't notice it being advertised until it came out. But the new book is Oh, he's done so many books in this series, but like a lot of them are spin-offs and sequels and stuff. So I think this is the 8th main book in the series, but there's a lot.
Whoa.
There's a lot of like, it wouldn't necessarily have to be the 8th one you read, but it's called Elfie, A Wicked Childhood, and it's a prequel that's set kind of between the first 2 parts of the first novel. So there's quite a big time skip.
Oh shit.
Wow.
And when I heard about it, honestly, I was a bit like, okay, so it feels kind of like the films have done really well, and like obviously you must have been working on this before the films really took off, but at the same time it kind of feels like you had a big excised section of this novel, and so you like kind of gone back and redone that as a like interquel, just because I take that back entirely. I literally started reading this book yesterday. I am nearly finished with it. It's not a long novel, but it is, a 300-ish page novel. But I'm hooked. It does help that it's been gorgeous weather in the UK, so I've been wanting to be outside in my garden doing something that's not baking under the weight of a hot PC playing either Blueprints or Inzoe for a few hours. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Gregory Maguire is, as an author, and so this is the series of books that the Wicked musical is based on, that now the films that are coming out at the moment are based on in turn. As an author, he's quite polarizing because people kind of expect, coming to his stuff from the musical, I think, that it's going to be a certain sort of like kind of Disney-fied almost, but with a bit of a darker edge take on the Oz books by L. Frank Baum. This is it is so much more experimental and artsy and very dark and very weird. And I find a lot of people, like Gregory Maguire's books, don't always review that well. It's more among readers than critics because of the fact that people are like, should I give this to my kid? No, you should not give this book to your kids. I guarantee, don't give these books to your children. They are extremely adult books. But yeah, it's... For contrast, I also recently read Sunrise on the Reaping, which is the new Suzanne Collins Hunger Games prequel about Haymitch. And while I enjoyed that book, I don't think it added anything to...
Really?
I really think
I've
there were
heard that.
opportunities to add things in the way that I thought Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes did really well. It added a lot to the backstory of the lore of the whole series. I don't think Sunrise on the Reaping achieved that in the end. I think up until the final chapter, I was like, this could still go somewhere. And then at the end, I was like, I don't really see what the point of this was.
Interesting.
And Elfie, A Wicked Childhood, kind of also can't add anything, but the artistry with which he's approached the concept has me so hooked. Like his prose is just so lyrical and so interesting, and like the way that he talks about childhood and memory and the importance of a moment to the people who were in it, even if they all forget it, even after everyone's gone, is just so profound and interesting that if you're kind of right in the mood to get into that sort of philosophizing, it stands by itself. Like there's a whole thing near the beginning where this novel takes place in 4 parts, and it's all set along the banks of this river where Elphaba, Wicked Witch of the West, lives during several years of her childhood. And it kind of asks the question, if everyone who is in this moment is dead by the time the part of the story you're familiar with is taking place, then who's remembering? Who's remembering? And it's like, is it the river? Is it just the world in general that's kind of holding this memory? And I love stuff like that. It's not going to, I know my Gregory Maguire, he's not going to try and answer this. He's just literally saying, what contains this memory and what's the significance of this memory in itself. And like the way because in the first chapter she's a toddler, and the way he describes like toddlers having thoughts but he's like, but I'm translating this in a way that an adult can understand, but this is not how a toddler thinks, but this is
wow.
But over time she'll convince herself that this was how she thought as she grows and starts to process the memories that she has of this time. And it's just such an interesting book about memories of childhood. I'm so into it.
Wow.
It doesn't need to be a Wicked book for me to be interested in how it's put together. I'm obviously really obsessed with it. I don't think that it's gonna add nothing for fans of the films, because it fundamentally follows a very different version of the story to the films. It's very much for the people like me who've been with the book series for decades. And I just think it's really lovely little interquel. Perhaps unnecessary, but still done with a great deal of artistry, and I'm really enjoying it.
Love the word interquel, by the way. Never heard that before.
It's definitely a made-up one, but it is very useful.
Oh, no, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So good.
That sounds so cool. Because, yeah, like as an author,
Yeah.
if you're doing a prequel, you know everyone's going to know how the beginning of the next book is. So what do you do to kind of circumvent that? And that's really cool. You just change up the style and just like your approach to the book in general, or the story in
it's
general.
so smart.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That rules.
I'm really into this. It's got like the 2 reviews that I saw on Waterstones before I went to buy it were a 1-star and a 2-star review, and I was like, okay,
This is not for
fair
you.
enough. I was like, fair enough. I mean, my thought was maybe it's a bit of a cash-in on the films, but now I'm like, no, it's just he's too much in the other direction, just doing whatever weird shit he always does because the films are out, but not in any way like capitalizing on that. Because it could have been so bland, right? It could have been, here's a bit about her childhood that just doesn't really like, you know, it's just twee and doesn't challenge anything. And it's not that. And I'm just so happy with that, you know? 8 books deep into this series I've been following since I was 16. I'm like,
That's
so
so
Christ. I didn't even know there was like that much lore, but actually thinking about Wicked, there's actually quite a lot.
oh yeah, and there's like so many characters that didn't even make it into the musical because, you know, you have to rationalize it down a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, because she has
sense.
2 siblings in the book, and that's super important for the whole
She
thing.
has 2?
And obviously, yeah, there's a brother as well in the books, and that's a whole other thing. And so, yeah,
Wicked, the Wicked Warlock of the North.
I can't possibly say what his title is, but he does have one.
Well, now I need to know. I can't wait for Wicked Part 2 to come out in November. I'm so excited. That sounds amazing. Oh, you read such
sounds really
interesting
cool.
books. I hate this because you both bring up really good books, and my TBR is so long, and I'm just like, I can't. I still, honestly, Absolution is still staring at me in the face, and I'm just like, yeah, one second, I get to you, but it's just like, I know so much I need to read.
Did you finish that, Rebecca?
Oh yeah,
Absolution. Yeah, I
Did we
finished
talk
it.
about it?
I'm sure we did.
Oh,
I
let's
thought
circle
you-
back to that.
Yeah, I thought you
Yeah,
two
yeah.
had said
Sorry,
you had talked about it.
Yeah, I'm
can't
sure. I
remember if we
finished it in
did.
January, so
I know we did. Oh, yeah. We'll come back to that. Yeah.
yeah.
I need to-
Sorry, Rachel. What were you saying?
No, it's fine. I made the mistake of starting Babel, and
Oh my god, I
What's
haven't done that one
Babel?
yet.
yeah, that's the RF
I
Khan
heard
one.
of this.
Yeah, it looks
And,
amazing, but I just don't know
It's
how.
pretty good, but it's long, and it's the longest book I've probably ever read, and it's good. It's not great. Well, no, I like it. Maybe.
Do you find that I was saying this to Yolly the other day, I think it's so much more culturally acceptable to have polarized opinions about books, movies,
Yeah.
TV shows and music than it is games. Like I feel like
I
games
totally
are so
agree.
unified. But I think maybe that's a lot to do with what you were saying last episode, which I just thought was such a good point. Like, I was listening back, I was like, fuck yes, this is so good. When you were talking about how like the majority of people who review games are like the same people, like
Yeah.
societal and like culturally. But I feel like with books, it's a wider. Anyway,
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to get into there, but
there is,
I was like, do I want to say something?
I know.
Never mind.
we can cut this out. it's fine.
I'll talk about my hyperfixation instead.
Yes.
My hyperfixation is Cataclysmo. I played it in early access.
Oh.
I loved it. And in March,
Yeah.
it came out as a full release. The early access version was like the first half of the campaign. And I don't really like tower defense. I'm not really a big fan of like siege games. But there was something about Cataclysmo that just really, I think I played the demo and enjoyed the demo so much. I bought the early access version and played as much as I could of it. It's like I said, a tower defense, siege defense battle sim where the idea is you're building fortresses brick by brick. So instead of like with other tower defense where you're like given buildings and you plonk them down, in Cataclysmo you are literally building them from scratch with the resources you've gathered like stone and wood. So there's just a different relationship to your fortresses when you literally build them from the ground up. And in Cataclysmo, everything is like, everything encourages you to build higher. Its systems are always pushing you to build up, not out. And so the higher you build, the stronger your fortifications are. Your certain archers have to be a certain height, your bombers have to be a certain height, spellcasters. Everything is based on height, which I really like, instead of it being like it's not as big, it's like tall, and I really like how it plays with that. And the other thing I love about it is the enemies are just disgusting little balls of flesh with like legs, and they come in waves and hordes, which obviously is like pretty classic for your siege sims. But it's just the fact that this fantasy world and these little goblin creatures are like this. They come in waves, and the way they just like crash up against your fortress, and the way they like bite and like scratch at your walls, and you like having to defend like your people and your buildings like inside from them, it's just like really dramatic. This game is in an isometric view as well, so it's not like top down or it's not 2D. It's like you can like do these really like Lord of the Rings kind of like sweeping camera motions as like these like hundreds of them will just be coming out of the darkness. You're like, oh god, I thought I was ready and I'm so not ready. I'm gonna die. And it's just like I just love it so much. And I think I spend 50% building and 50% like in real time, like defending, because the building is just so satisfying. The way the stone Lego bricks like click together. Building is really easy. It's not really intense. It's a genre that I'm normally, absolutely wouldn't normally dip my toes into. I'm loving it in Cataclysmo. I just think it's just it's got bite. It's like a dark fantasy world, which I love. The story is pretty basic. It's like, oh, humanity's coming to an end. We've got to find us, a miracle to like save everyone. That's fine. I'm all good with that. But it's just the spectacle of this game I think I love. Like, I just love, like, I have my helms deep, and I'm like, nothing is gonna get in, like, nothing, like, I've built the best fucking barricade I've ever built, like, nothing is gonna get through. And then when the night starts, and then one of your people is like, the horrors are coming, in the really goofy voice, but it's still fine. And you're just like, oh god, and just like a wave of just mistakes and just what could possibly happen, a potential disasters just like dawn on you, and you're just like, oh my god. You can build, you can stop at any point and rebuild, but it's just this idea of like there's an imminent threat, and it's like happening right now, and you need to like react to that. I just love it. I like that it's like it's not real time, you can pause, and there's strategy involved. I haven't played, I say it's my fixation, I haven't played the full release yet, but because I love the early access campaign so much, I can't wait until my brain gets tired of blueprints, because it will eventually poop out, and then I can finally play Cataclysmo, like the rest of their campaign. Like, I'm so pumped. So I'm just, I'm hyped. It's by Digital Sun. I'm not sure what else they've done. Did they do Moonlighter? They did a game called Moonlighter, which is the shop sim one and the dungeon crawling one, which I quite liked.
Nice. Yeah.
But again, it's like interesting ideas, but done in like with slight twists. Are they doing a Moonlighter 2? What is this?
Yeah. It's like full 3D. Was it at the Switch 2 event the other day? I feel like I saw it really recently.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so it's the same studio. So maybe that's their next thing. Anyway, so that's Cataclysmo. Great game. Loving it.
I've just realised we should probably be congratulated for doing a games podcast on April 7th and only mentioning the Switch 2 hours in. Like, that's pretty good going. Yeah.
We haven't even thrown a bone to Silk Song. That's probably the only bit of it that we should at least mention.
Oh, yeah. What happened? It didn't get announced, but it was like this year.
It was like
they were just like, oh, it's 2025, Switch 2.
Yeah. It's like Silk Song 2, 2025. But apparently Microsoft have the marketing deal with it, so Nintendo can't reveal the release date. So people suspect that, that's as much Silk Song as they can show. But
oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I heard that Witchbrook got a date or a new trailer, and I can't fucking wait until that game releases. And that's all I paid attention to.
That got a full trailer like last week, didn't it? It looks great. I've forgotten
so
that was even a
cute.
thing, but I'm glad that's
Can't
coming
wait.
out.
Hyperfixation's done.
We did
We're
it.
finished.
There
We
we
did
go.
it. Woo! Another episode in the bag. Yay! Yes, dear listener, thank you so much for reaching the end. As hopefully that's what am I talking about? What am I talking about?
Well,
Keep
I was
going,
just
sorry.
we've got
Yes,
we've got to the room 46 of the podcast.
Oh, hello.
Love that.
There she is.
But yeah, thanks for listening and join our Discord. You can email us at contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Visit our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye. Tatty bye.
Bye.
Tatty bye? Where's that from? Tatty bye bye? Is that from something?
I
Or is
don't
that
know,
just
is it?
British? Is that just a British thing?
Tatty bye bye. I think tatty
Oh my
bye bye is just a
goodness.
British phrase, but
Okay.
is it from something? I don't know.
I'm just gonna like slowly fade us out on that
Yeah,
I was
comment
like,
just then.
Yeah.
are we still going? 'Cause I'm still
Stop.
Indieventure is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indieventure. Bye for now.